All right, so you've probably seen information online about the new 2024 Harley model releases, and I can tell you there's probably a lot of information you don't know, and definitely more than meets the eye. So I'm down here test riding and reviewing the regular Road Glide and Street Glide. I'm down here, you know, kind of from a consumer perspective. I want to gather all the information for you guys and all the details that maybe you don't know. Now, I assure you this video is going to be very different from the other basic test ride and reviews, and that's because I always have my own deeper perspective about things, and I like to break it down for you, the consumer, as these are very large purchases, and our motorcycle ultimately becomes a part of who we are. So making the correct decision on the purchase of a new Harley-Davidson is critical, so you have no regrets about your choice later on, and you're happy with your new ride.
By the light of a new sun. Get up, get up, get out, get done. For the first time I feel like someone breaking down the walls in my own mind, keeping my faith for the bad times.
You see, since the 2024 Harley launch event and since having returned from Las Vegas where I got to test ride these bikes, I've spoken with many bikers that are in the market to upgrade to a new Harley-Davidson touring model here in 2024. And the questions are all the same. Should I buy a standard street or Road Glide, or go for the new CVO Road Glide ST, or even a non-ST CVO model? And I can relate deeply to that decision-making process, as my main touring Harley is a 2014 Street Glide Special, and I am contemplating which model to get here in 2024. So by the end of this video, I will reveal the bike that's going to work best for me. And it's based on many factors that you too will need to consider before handing over your hard-earned money to Harley. I'm going to review all the large and small things you need to consider before finalizing your decision, so you don't make an impulse purchase and have buyer's remorse. Trust me, after riding the CVO Road Glide ST on the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, I wanted to get my wallet out and start throwing cash around to buy this bike. And so what I'm ultimately saying here is that often when we see something new and shiny, we want that instant gratification, and I definitely get that. But what I'm asking you to do right now is to slow down, take a deep breath, watch this entire video, and then make a thoughtful decision. Now, I am very blessed and thankful that Harley gets me to these locations and allows me to access these bikes so I can gather as much information as I can about them and then relay that to you, such as I'm doing in this video. With that said, I want you to understand that I got just one day with the CVO Road Glide ST, and the next day I split my time up between the standard, Street Glide, and Road Glide. So I want you to understand that my review here is based on a very limited time with these models, and I gathered experiences and as much information as I could for you. Matt Laidlaw. So we rode the Road Glide CVO STs on the track, and can you give me your overall thoughts on the experience and what you think of that bike?
I had very high expectations from a CVO being the first like true factory performance bagger, and I feel like it totally lived up to the expectations. I mean, first of all, you look at it, it just looks amazing, but that means nothing if it doesn't perform right. And it was nice to be able to take it on the track because you got to really run it through its paces. And I was impressed with the suspension, I was impressed with the power, and the track mode was cool. It was very applicable for the environment we were in. You have an inverted front end, or inverted forks that we saw last year, but this is the second year of that. On just the Brembo brakes in the front, and the new wheel design. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool new stuff on that bike.
There is. I'd highly suggest you watch my entire CVO Road Glide ST video, as it's very detailed. We'll mainly be hitting the high points in this video for comparison purposes only. I will pop a card on the screen and put a link in the description below for the video. So let's first tackle variable valve timing, or VVT. Harley did not go with the variable valve timing on the 121 cubic inch motor on the CVO ST, nor on the 117 cubic inch motor coming on the standard Street and Road Glides. Admittedly, my first reaction at launch was to question why. Well, spending time with engineers at the track, I soon understood why that choice was made. You see, the 121 Milwaukee 8 motor on the ST produces 127 horsepower and 145 foot-pounds of torque. And that's 12 more horsepower and 6 more foot-pounds of torque than the VVT version of this motor on the regular CVO models. And without the complication of VVT internally, upgrading and tuning that motor becomes much more feasible for those that want even more performance. This bike was made for race-inspired high performance, and they are able to tune a motor like this for such. Although VVT on the same 121 cubic inch motor on the other non-ST CVO models is an amazing rider experience, it's geared more towards smoothness and touring, and not necessarily for ultimate high power performance. And that may make you question, why then is VVT not on the 117 cubic inch motor on the standard models? Well, that's a loaded question, and I have some thoughts. You see, VVT is great, but certainly not necessary, as we've been touring without it for many years now. And as Harley always does, CVOs always have to have some things that separate them from the rest of the pack. It could have also been that engineers time-wise were only able to fit it into the CVOs for 2024, but not the standard models. Heck, maybe it's coming in 2025 to standard models. Who knows? But not having VVT still leaves you with an absolutely awesome, smooth-running, water-cooled 117 cubic inch Milwaukee 8 motor that is simply made for long-distance touring. This motor produces 105 horsepower and 130 foot-pounds of torque, and for reference, that's 22 horsepower and 15 foot-pounds of torque less than the 121 in the CVO ST. And not having to deal with VVT internally on the 117 motor, you're literally left with a blank canvas for future cam upgrades and tunes if you so choose. And at some point, make sure to leave a comment below about what you think about these new models and any decisions that you've made. I always love reading them, and I know Harley reps often do too. And speaking of cams, the CVO ST does have a different intake, performance cam, and tune, and the specs show, along with my experiences, that to truly appreciate and run this motor properly, you are going to be running it at a much higher RPM, as that's where the power band is and where it truly comes alive. It is tuned for such because it's a race-inspired bike. The 117 motor is a bit calmer and smoother, with the power band at lower RPMs. Yet you still have loads of power for passing on those long distance trips and for carving canyons. And although out of the box the CVO ST has more horsepower and torque, simply installing a cam of your choice and tuning your 117 could easily produce as much and even more power and torque than the stock 121 on the ST. Next, let's talk about some of the other components on the CVO ST that makes it different. Obviously, the CVO ST is race inspired and comes with a myriad of parts. And just to highlight some of them, you get inverted Showa front forks, radial mounted front Brembo calipers, wave style rotors, upgraded Showa rear suspension with remote reservoirs, upgraded wheels, parts from the Switchback collection, titanium mufflers, forged carbon fiber parts, one more degree of lean angle on each side, and you can adjust preload along with compression and rebound damping on the front and rear suspension. But of course, you're paying for all of it, as the base price for the CVO ST is $43,000 in comparison to the base price for the standard models at $26,000, which is a price difference of $17,000. So, armed with this information, you should look deep inside yourself and ask yourself a few very simple questions. What type of riding have you consistently done over the past 2 years? And what does the majority of riding you plan on doing this year consist of? Is it short rides, on the track, or long distance trips where you lay down miles day after day? And if you're honest with yourself, you should be coming to some conclusions about which model is right for you. So if mostly what you do are short day rides, carve canyons, ride to local events, ride around town, or have access to a track, then the winner is probably the ST, if you've got the $43,000 plus to get into this bike. If you do some of the aforementioned riding, but spend a large amount of time laying down miles long distance, then the standard model is likely for you. And if you have to have the VVT and want every single Harley bell and whistle, then the non-ST CVOs are going to be for you. And with that said, let's clear some things up. I am not saying whatsoever that you can't long distance tour on the CVO ST. Yes, you certainly can. It's still a touring style bike. I'm just arming you with the facts and things to consider. As I've stated, just know that the standard 117 is a calmer, smoother motor than the 121 ST non-VVT version. The 117 was specifically designed for smooth, long-distance touring. It's fair to say that the CVO ST121 over thousands of miles and day after day is just not going to be as smooth and be a bit more fatiguing on the rider. It's why many long distance guys don't change cams and just put a simple stage 1 kit and go. Again, these are just considerations, and at the end of the day, you do you. Heck, we put a cam on Popeye's Milwaukee 8 and he tours right along with us. It's really up to you as the rider on how you want your bike to feel and perform based on your riding style. Okay, there are a few more things to consider that may still leave you in between, but we'll clear them up. The CVO ST only comes with black trim, whereas the standard models come in black or chrome trim. You get many more color options with the standard models, whereas the ST you only get 2. Also, maybe you don't necessarily want the CVO ST121 motor, but you really like the way the bike looks and you want it solely for that reason. Well, Harley has made it easy for you to get that look with their add-on parts and packages. For around $2,600, you can make your standard model look like the CVO ST with the ST parts package they offer. And with both bikes coming with the newly designed fairings, tank, and saddlebags, you'll have that desired look no problem. Oh, and there are also other touring packages to consider depending on how you want your standard model set up. Now, before I move into the final decision I've made, I want to mention that the CVOs, CVO ST, and Standard Street and Road Glides are all coming with the all-new digital dash and infotainment system running on Skyline OS. Understand there is a subscription fee for the system if you want embedded internal navigation, traffic, and weather updates. While in Las Vegas, I learned a ton of info from engineers in regards to the compatibility of the new Harley branded Cardo headsets, non-branded Cardo and Sena headsets, any reverse compatibility with the old boombox system, and the requirements and compatibility with the new system. I also learned about Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and satellite radio offerings or lack thereof. I already released 2 detailed videos on this channel, which you should definitely watch, where I explain all these items and much more. And I'll put cards on the screen and put links in the description below. Okay, so a moment of truth. Let me share with you my ultimate decision on which bike would serve me best and why. So it is definitely the Whiskey Fire Standard Street Glide for me. You see, I tour long distance, ride more confidently, and also love carving corners. And let me tell you, this bike will do it all. But I'd make a few modifications first. From the Law Abiding Biker store, I'd get and install a Stage 1 kit with high flow air intake, performance Vance & Hines exhaust system, and tune the EFI with a Vance & Hines Fuel Pack 4. I'd most certainly upgrade my front and rear suspension to either Öhlings or Wilbur's, as I love them both. And I'd certainly set up my cockpit with a Biker Gripper cell phone mount and Ciro drink holder. I'd also be installing Ciro highway pegs, heated grips, and a much more comfortable long distance heated touring seat, and a butt buffer seat cushion from our store on top. I'd also be adding several Ciro LED lighting products front and rear so I could be seen better. And of course, a taller F4 Customs or Clockworks windshield would be in order. And with all those modifications, this would be an awesome all-around touring and corner carving bike. And even with all of that, I'd still be well under the $43,000 price tag for the CVO ST. And I'll have the flexibility of a future cam upgrade if I ever wanted to. And most importantly, by building my bike out myself, it will be unique and become part of who I am. Also, part of the motorcycle experience for me is wrenching and installing parts on my bike and truly making it unique from others out on the road. Additionally, I've learned much being a police motorcycle officer and instructor, and that is having a similar yet slightly faster bike on paper doesn't really mean a whole bunch to me if you don't practice your slow speed and higher speed techniques routinely. So having a few more horsepower in the CVO ST isn't worth the trade-off for me. Even on my 2014 Street Glide Special with a 103 twin cam with Stage 1 kit, I have no issues keeping up with other riders on corners at all. Okay, you might get me just a little on the straightaways, but hey, anyone can ride straight, right? Also, the 1 degree extra lean angle on the ST model is not significant enough to me to be an overall deciding factor. Lastly, I want to say that after my day of riding the Standard Street and Road Glides, I can say that they are truly awesome bikes and are sure to put a smile on any rider's face. These bikes just scream, let's carve corners and head out on a long distance trip. And I'll say they are set up well for stock. The rear suspension has been upgraded to 3 inches of travel instead of 2 inches, and the front forks are retuned to work well with the rear suspension. And as always, you're sure to get an unbiased review on this channel, and I do have just a couple nitpicks. I don't like the fact that to adjust the preload on the rear shocks, you still have to remove the left saddlebag. I really wish in future iterations, Harley would put the adjustment knob in a location where it can be more easily accessed. Also, I don't necessarily like how the stock plastic speaker grills with large holes looked, and they seemed a bit unrefined in comparison to the rest of the bike. But hey, they can be easily replaced if you don't like them. Of course, both are very minor issues and neither is a deal breaker whatsoever. And I certainly hope you're more informed now and can get the bike that will best fit your needs. I'm popping a couple cards on the screen here for you. Hopefully something useful or entertaining, heck, maybe both. At any rate, when you're done watching videos, make sure you get out there and ride every chance you get, bikeaholics. Peace.